Hello, I'm Keith Sones. I'm with Accepted Utility Strategies. This message is for everybody that works in or is affiliated with the electric utility industry. Utility people, contractors, members of regulatory commissions, engineering companies. I have a confession to make. Over 35 years ago, when I first got into this industry, I was a professionally trained safety person with a construction background. So that was my ticket to get into the industry. But when I got here, I realized I knew very little, if nothing, about what went on, what things were called, how it all worked. But I didn't have the confidence to go to my boss and tell him that. So what I would do is I'd stand there a lot of times in a meeting or a discussion. Somebody would be talking about something I really didn't understand, and I should have, but I was embarrassed to ask. So I'd sit there and politely nod my head like this as they're talking, instead of doing what I should have done, which is ask questions. Now, we use a lot of lingo in this industry, like all industries do. Why is this particularly important? We're on the cusp of mass electrification globally. A lot more people are impacted by our decisions, and we need to help them understand not just what we're planning, but why. And we can't do that adequately unless we understand. Let me give an example of how this can go sideways. You've heard the terms, very likely, distribution and transmission when it comes to power. There's a textbook definition that would go something like this. Transmission is over a certain voltage. It's large, it goes a long distance, and it feeds into a substation. The power comes out of a substation at a lower voltage, comes into small local distribution feeders or circuits, and they go into homes and businesses. This part is called distribution. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? But let me tell you how it can go off the rails, even when we mean to do the right thing. A number of years ago, I was in the business of siting new facilities, transmission lines, substations, distribution lines. And I was talking to a real estate agent who was quite concerned about depreciated land values if we built new facilities in view of his housing development. I made the mistake of saying, we're planning on building a new transmission circuit through this area. What I didn't know at the time was that he had conjured an image in his mind of a huge transmission line, massive steel towers, large right-of-way, heavy cables. Well, that's not what we were planning at all. We were planning, in all reality, something that looked like a distribution circuit. Wood poles, wires looked pretty much the same, nice and small. But he didn't know that because I simply called it a transmission line, which technically it is. Subsequent to that, I was seeking approval from a municipality to site a substation. As soon as I used the word substation, benign to me, they had an image in their mind of this large industrial complex, something they might see on TV in Gotham City. I should have led with the fact that it was going to be small, compact, and primarily hidden. If I would have led with that, I would have got a much warmer reception. So we need to be really understanding that just because we know, and we're about to impact people's lives in terms of the cost of their power bill, the infrastructure they see, the regulatory applications we're going to make, and understand what people do and don't know. So I might understand this, and many of you may as well. But if you're a contractor and you've got a new project manager or an administrator that doesn't have a clue what a transformer looks like when it shows up on a truck, or what poles cost, maybe you need to educate them. If you're in utility communications and you're talking about a new transmission circuit going into a neighborhood, take the time to explain what it's going to look like. Don't let people run away with the thoughts they've got in their head, because I guarantee you, it all ends badly. They don't conjure up good thoughts in their worst case scenarios. If you're interested about things like reclosers and sectionalizers and relays, all of these things have a place, and we may actually put them in a regulatory submission. But we might be submitting them to a regulator that doesn't have full comprehension necessarily of what we're talking about, and they're really only focused on the dollars. As an industry, we need to get better at explaining things in ways that people can understand. If you are interested, I'm Keith, and I'd love to have that conversation. Please get in touch. Accepted Utility Strategies is here to help.